So this is something I want to start doing. I want to make a series of videos just breaking down points from high level ultimate. Um, a lot of these are going to be from Flatball Club. If you don't follow Flatball Club on YouTube, you really should. They've got a lot of really good high level games shot from a drone. Yeah. And it's just a great angle and it's great ultimate. And if you're really into breaking down film or watching film, check out Flatball Club because it's great. Um, this is Machine versus Doublewide 2023 Pro Championships, and I kind of just wanted to break down. This is the first point of the game, and it was a good one to really break down to understand little things in offense that make a big difference. So let's get into it. So Machine has the disc. The initiating cutter is right here. His defender is back in here, and he's going to be trying to take away the deep space. First thing I want to talk about is something very underrated is walking as a cutter. Walking as a cutter when you're not quite a threat yet. This can happen in situations like this where there's a pull out the back of the end zone. This can happen, on a sideline. This can happen when you're setting up and when you're in the back of an end zone set and the front is the main focus here. That's one of my favorite things to do is to kind of walk around, see how your defense reacts. Basically, all he's doing here, though, is he's walking out into the lane. If he starts over here on the sideline, he has a long distance to go to get to the open space. If he walks, even with his defender walking with him and keeping that space, the defender has less time to react to him getting to this space. So walking to that made him not look like that much of a threat. Everybody knows that this is going to be the first look, but it's a matter of where and how it's going to get hit, right? Let's go back a few frames. So the disc gets tapped in right here, right? Disc is tapped in, and right when it gets tapped in, this is more or less it's a two-man cup, right? And you see there's a gap here. The starting center handler for Machine is probably going to be able to throw through that gap and hit this guy right here. And you can see by the way that he's standing, he is looking for this throw right off the bat, right? This cutter right here. But now the cup shifts over. They get a big fake on that, and it makes the off defender bite really hard. Right when that happens, both the cutter here and the defender here know that the next look is this space right here. Right? They know that that's what's going to be going. And because he has extra space, by not starting on the sideline, because you have to react as a defender, you can't anticipate as much. He gets beat, right? He was more worried about the deeps. That's fine. That's going to happen, right? As he's catching this disc on offense, there's two things that happen with these two cutters over here. Get the catch there. Let's go back just a few frames right here. You can see that the guy that's cutting deep is looking behind him, right? And you can see right about here is when he starts to put his head down and sprint. And that is pretty much just as the initial cutter is starting to catch the disc or is about to catch the disc. That is a heavily underrated thing that I think a lot of younger players don't grasp all the time is anticipating your cuts. If you react with your cuts, you are behind. If you anticipate with your cuts, you can always adjust to what you need to adjust to. You can always pull it back. Maybe not always, but many times you can pull it back. Many of the times you can bail out of your initial thought if you need to. But if you're late, and there's not much you can do about it. So he reacts to that catch, and that was great, right? He gets a deep look here, and he's about to go under. He's about to go under and get the disc. The other thing that's not quite as flashy as getting the disc happens with the other cutter here, and it's just a simple clear. Right, this cutter was probably going to be the bailout throw if this one didn't happen. Maybe you go to the off handler over here. Doesn't really matter, right? But he sees that he's not going to be a viable look. He sees that this is being caught, and he immediately clears. When he clears, look at all this space that he's created. Clearing is another underrated thing that I think a lot of young players struggle with. There's a lot of high school players especially that very skilled high school players that don't know how to not be the one. They don't know how to not be the person that is leading their team and getting the disc every other, right? And I think that clearing is one of the things that gets lost when you have to be the one getting the disc every other. But we get the disc here. His teammate sees that. He immediately clears back to the center of the field. He pulls his defender with him. and it allows his teammate here to take the under. How did his teammate beat his defender so bad, right? How did the guy that was going deep beat his defender so bad? And take a look at that right now. Get the slash across initially. He anticipates the cut. He gets his defender to commit to him. And now we're going to go frame by frame here, and I'm going to show you what happens. Right here, right? Because he anticipated his cut, because he beat his defender by so much, he gets to look back at the disc, and he gets to see three things. He gets to see the disc. He gets to see that his teammate, who he was paired with over here, is clearing and opening up space. And he gets to see that his defender is not paying attention to him. Even if this is just for a split second, he gets to see that his defender is not paying attention to him. And now his defender is going to have to react to him very quickly. Otherwise, he's going to lose the race to the disc. And he does lose the race to the disc. So I kind of want to go back and just really pay attention to this guy and how he goes deep and how quick this happens, right? Looks back at the disc, he's chop stops, and he goes under. And he beats him simply because he was paying attention to his defender, he was paying attention to the disc, he was paying attention to the space that he had. Now, I think this is the... Now we're going to go back to watching the guy that clears here, right? He goes back to the center of the field. He's watching the disc the whole time. It's another thing that a lot of people don't do. You gotta pay attention to the disc even when you're not involved in the play. And now he starts to make his cut before the disc is caught, right? This is one of those cuts where, like, you can tell that he's not going all out on this cut. You can tell that he probably is clearing space, but he also wants to make himself look viable for a deep shot, right? Because maybe he will be. So he goes deep, and at the same time, that is clearing space. And actually, one thing I wanted to pay attention to real quick is where this guy is looking right off the bat. He looks back to the center of the field. He looks to the break side immediately when he catches the disc. He uses his catch momentum to continue looking in the direction that that momentum took him. And that's important because if he has an opportunity here, this is all kind of a clusterfuck right here. There's not going to be a whole lot of viable looks that he could take here. But, you know, if this defender wasn't here and this guy was coming up through here, he could dish it right to this guy right here, right? There's going to be looks that are open immediately when you catch it that are not going to be there half a second later. And if you don't look for those looks and you do the thing where you catch the disc and you immediately turn towards the force side without even bothering to look at the break side, you're doing yourself and your team a disservice, right? So that's just a small thing, but just watch it in real time, right? He catches the disc, uses the momentum, checks to the inside, still checking to the inside before he settles in to go into the force side because he knows that he'll have a better look there after checking those initial options. And it only took him half a stall count to do that, right? I think that's underrated. So now, go back to the other parts of the field. We get this catch here. The initial guy that cleared out here, he's going to start going deep. He gets one hard step in there, a couple hard steps, sees if he's getting it open deep, but he doesn't. His teammate that's closest to him sees that he clears space, and he goes and he takes it. Horizontal cut, it's fine, you know. He beat his guy to the space, he gets the disc, and now the guy that was going deep just a moment ago is going to start coming back under, right? He sees that this disc is getting caught, he's going to start coming back under, and as he does, he sees that his teammate right here is already making his move, and he stops short, right? He doesn't clog the space. He pulls out. He knows that it's not his. And then this guy just makes a really nice upline cut. Turns kind of this really sharp slant here into almost a vertical line because his defender tries to guard that space, and he just beats him deep. And a great throw. So let's watch it all. I want to watch it all back again and kind of talk through each of the moments. Right. We have a walking into the lane. Disc is getting tapped in. Cup collapses. Cup bites hard. He slashes across. We get a clear here. We get a chop stop and under here. He checks the center of the field. Nothing there. This guy clears. We get an upline there, and we get a sharp upfield cut up there for an easy score. It all happens really quickly. It was a really good sequence, and it was really good teamwork. So